Growing up, I was kind of scared of my father, the colonel. Now, he was a decorated combat vet. He was imposing. He was serious. He was truth, justice, and the American way. But if you were good, you were commended. And if you were bad, you were punished. Now, I was kind of scared of him, but I was terrified of bullies. Now, I was a short kid. I was kind of pudgy. I wore glasses. I was easy pickings. And so there was a couple of guys in the neighborhood who would pick on me, and then one day, this one bigger kid, he got me, and he held me down, and he wouldn't let me get away, and he roughed me up. Now, I eventually did get away, but on the walk home, I was so filled with abject horror and anger and shame that I swore I would never let that happen again, and I was gonna do something about it. So I decided to become a bully fighter. Now, all that means is that if I saw anyone being picked on, I would immediately stick up for them no matter what. Oh, hold on. Because before you think I'm tough or cool or smart, let me just tell you, I was not good at this new chosen profession. I got my ass kicked a lot. Because usually an exchange would go, hey, you, leave them alone, and then changeo presto, I'm in the headlock. I once had to crawl home on my hands and knees, no lie, 2 blocks, more, because I got beat up so bad, sticking up for some kid 2 streets over. But this did not deter me. Oh no, I was an avenging angel, a vigilante. I wanted to be truth, justice, and the American way. So one day I'm in my driveway and I'm shooting baskets. I'm trying to be athletic. I'm slightly hampered by this really nice suede vest I had, because it was the late 70s, so no judgments, okay? So I'm shooting baskets, and I hear these 2 kids, a boy and a girl, shouting. And I turn and I look, and I see them. Now, the boy, let's just call him Kevin. Now, Kevin is younger than me, but bigger than me. We've had a few run-ins, and his whole family was like these bigger people. I know, right? And so he's arguing with this little girl who lives 2 houses down from me over what appears to be the ownership of her bicycle. And they're going back and forth. Give it, no. And finally, Kevin has had enough. So he knocks her down. And before I even know what is happening, I am running full speed at Kevin. Kevin sees me, sees that I mean business, sees that maybe his number's up, and he starts running. So the little kid is chasing the bigger kid, and we're going all around the neighborhood, and I finally corner him right in front of his parents' house. And instead of going in, he turns around to face me. And he backs up onto the lawn. Back in the day when being on your lawn was safe or home base? Thank you, okay, great. But I see this and I think, I'm a vigilante. These rules don't apply to me. And so I step up onto the lawn and Kevin steps back. Now, point of fact, his family had been pruning trees, cutting limbs and stuff. And so there were all these piles of tree limbs in the yard. Kevin looks down, sees one, picks one up, and he holds it like a weapon. I see one at my feet, and I think, well, 2 can play that game. So I pick up one. And I look up into Kevin's face, and I say, why did you hit that girl? And Kevin cocks his head back to the side, gives me a mix of a smirk and a sneer, and it is so very clear to me that he thinks he doesn't have to pay for his bully crimes. And something inside me snaps. And Kevin says, get out of my yard. And he doesn't even get to the D on yard, and I crack him across the head. And he goes down in a heap. And then I hear something I've never heard before. Someone screaming and crying in pain and fear at something I've done. And for just a second, I think, am I the bully? And that thought is immediately washed away because Kevin jumps to his feet, holding his head, screaming and crying, and he runs into his house. As the horror washes over me, because Kevin is going to tell his parents, who are going to call my parents, and then the colonel is going to end me. And so I look left, I look right, I put down the limb, I back up out of the lawn, and I go looking for a place to hide from my father. And I find what I think is the perfect place. In the garage, under my mother's car. I mean, God forbid she'd be coming out and be like, oh, I think I'm gonna get some bread and milk and cigarettes at the local bungalow and accidentally run over one of my kids. So I'm laying there, contemplating the circus, and, thank you, and so, all of a sudden, the colonel's shoes come out into the garage. And and he's kind of on the balls of his feet because he is looking for me. And then after what feels like a year, he kind of deflates a little bit, like he's giving up. And he turns to go back into the house, and I start to release the tension in my back. And just then, the little buckle on the back of that late 70s vest scrapes the cement just a tiny bit, and his feet stop. And then I hear his voice, "Get out from under there." Now, I'm not having thoughts like, "Oh man, I'm in so much trouble," or "I'm gonna get it." I'm having real practical end-of-life thoughts. Like, I guess I had a good run. I did some things, I touched some lives. I guess this is how it ends. And I stand up and I stare into these furious dark blue eyes. Like when you look at a sunset and you see all the beautiful like magentas and golds and pinks, and then you look back to the east, and right at the horizon line, it's the darkest blue. That was the color of my father's eyes. And these eyes now are just boring into me. And he looks at me and he says, "Why did you hit that boy?" I don't cry. I don't beg for mercy. I just look up at him and say, "'Cause he hit someone smaller. And I'm a bully fighter." And his eyes go wide for a second. And then he's looking at me like he's never seen me, like he doesn't know me, or maybe he's seeing me for the first time, or who I want to become. And then he puts his hand on my shoulder. He looks left, he looks right, and he says, "Okay. Just don't do it again." And I am off the hook. Now, 3 things ended that day. I never fought a bully again. I still stick up for people, I just don't believe in violence. Kevin never laid a hand on anyone in the neighborhood again, and I was no longer afraid of my father. Thanks.